Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F126 career mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we take on my favorite race in Formula 1, the Singapore Grand Prix, as Cadillac and many other teams continue to bring upgrades on this season. As you see, Ferrari is at the top of the R&D there briefly, but doesn't seem to really matter because it's been McLaren and Lando Norris that have kind of been in control of this championship lately. And Lando Norris, I mean, he has an opportunity today to really just kind of, I'm not going to say seal the deal for the championship, but maybe an opportunity to get pretty close, as it's been just pure dominance out of the British driver here in some recent races. Now is for the first time ever, we've got a sprint race here in Singapore as well. Looking forward to that. Now I don't really look forward to sprints very often, but to be honest, the sprints in this game have always been pretty exciting, so I do kind of look forward to it now. We'll wait and see, of course, what that entails as the weekend goes on. However, maybe I'm going to dislike it as the weekend goes. But we come through here into FP1 now in the middle of the day, or maybe kind of late afternoon, and pretty happy and confident with the abilities right now of this Cadillac. I was actually really happy with what we had, and we're coming off of, a round where, we weren't quite up to, the performance that I wanted in Azerbaijan, going up against my teammate of Sergio Perez, and he actually did get the best of us there in Baku. But we have entered contract negotiations with Cadillac this weekend to sign an extension. That's not how you're going to get an extension right there, but Cadillac has already given me an early offer, and they've given me an offer for a one-season extension to be at 1 million Canadian dollars for the 2027 season. So an offer is on the table from Cadillac, and now it is up to me to make a decision on if I want to take that or not. They have given me until Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Grand Prix is my deadline to either accept or deny the deal. So that pretty well tells me now, that pretty well confirms Sergio Perez is going to be out, but nothing is official yet. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they've offered him something as well, but we have an offer on the table, and we got until Las Vegas to accept as we come through into sprint qualifying now in SQ1. And I was immediately concerned because my pace was like way off here as we continue towards the end of the lap now, as we round the final couple of corners here and to the front straight away. What's it gonna be? It's dead last. It is dead last, and it's not even close. It's like monumentally dead last here. Perez through into 15th, and we are 4/10 off of 21st place of Arvid Lindblad. What in the world? Where is the pace going into the sprint?
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Antonelli, Russell, Hadjar, Sainz and Alex Albon, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Esteban Ocon and Perez, Colapinto, Stroll, Gabriel Bortoleto and Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Lawson, Lindblad and Bombshell. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
We're ready to go for the sprint. It's a one tire strategy, not stopping, of course, now, but I did learn something as we were getting ready to go racing here now, and it seems like Singapore is like kind of broken in the current F126 DLC. The AI in qualifying were super fast. I don't know if that was broken, but they are absolutely way faster than they are usually anywhere else because we were running competitive times. But the issue is the battery. So the battery really seems to like stay really full. Like it kind of hovers around 75% or so, and someone in my Discord server mentioned this issue as well. So it seems like the battery here is broken, and I'm wondering if the AI were able to just use the battery through the entire lap, and that's what made the difference in the time. I'm not sure, but I wasn't like, using the battery at every opportunity because I was trying to make sure we saved up some battery throughout the course of the lap. But it seems like the battery doesn't really go below 75%. Like, you can get it below it, but it's like it kind of stops going down a lot right around 75%. It's really weird. Nonetheless, 10 laps. Let's find out how it goes here from Singapore. It's going to be lights out. Let's go racing for the sprint here. A solid start against Harvard Lindblad on the run into turn 1. Lando Norris has the field covered over Piastri and Lewis Hamilton. Contact there between the two drivers now. The McLaren on the left, the Ferrari on the right, and Hamilton around the outside. Through into P2 now as he'll set his sights on Lando Norris to try and run him down now. The 7-time Formula One world champion chasing after a driver looking to go back-to-back championships here from 2025 and now 2026. Leclerc, Verstappen settle into 4th and 5th, and then you got the pair of Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. And well, looking like another rough weekend on the way for Mercedes now, as they've really been off lately here, as you see my teammate of Sergio Perez scrapping on the outside of Ollie Behrman right there, trying to get the job done. Perez with a solid start now as Cadillac returns to its normal livery. We're headed to Coda next episode, by the way, where we will have another special livery on the car now. But you see Behrman settles in front of Perez. I've gotten through on both Gasly and Lindblad and have moved up into the 20th position so far on this opening lap. And we're going to really see the issues with the battery here, because everyone can just use pretty well as much battery as they want because of the fact that the battery just halts at around 75%, that it makes passing nearly impossible outside of the first lap. And you're going to see what I'm talking about here now as Alonso and Stroll are really scrapping wheel to wheel right now as we continue down the straightaway. But you see the battery, once it kind of goes below 80, it just starts to slow down, and it's really weird. But as we come through now to the second lap of this race, Lawson, little bit of a slide right there on the exit of the right-hander. He's definitely struggling for some grip now. And I would spend, the next few laps there, you see a great example. The battery just stops at 75%. I am so confused by that, but it looks like they have managed to completely break that somehow at Singapore only. It's really, really weird, and I don't know if that's intentional. Surely it's not now, as we got a spin, though. Esteban Ocon's gone around here, and that's going to be a free position for us as we'll come around and get past the Haas driver. We stay green, and Ocon will get that Haas back going. Of course, we know he's on the way out at Haas at the end of the season and currently has no ride lined up for 2027. Rafael Camara will be taking over that ride alongside Ollie Behrman for 2027 as we continue to lap 4, and we've gone nowhere because all the AI are able to just do the same thing, drain the battery, and then it stops going down around 76%, 75%. So everyone's just kind of doing the same thing. But hold on, we do actually get a really good exit, though, on Liam Lawson as we are approaching lap 5. And we're going to get aggressive here, going to lunge around the outside, and we're going to gain a position there. And that was, 4 laps it took me to actually make that pass happen. And that's a fear I have going into the Grand Prix. It's just going to be a slow grind and really going to have to look at strategy, I think, in the race, the actual race. And as well, one thing to mention is in the Grand Prix, there is a threat of rain as well in the Grand Prix, so that's something we're going to have to pay attention to. Not long after that pass, though, on Liam Lawson, we're already putting some pressure here on Lance Stroll. Is actually, here we go, here comes Max Verstappen at Charles Leclerc, and he's going to go around the outside of the Monegasque, and through he goes into P4. Leclerc drops to 5th over Antonelli and Russell just behind now. As one thing I was struggling with, though, as these laps were continuing, was grip. The rear tires were actually overheating a little bit, therefore I was lacking a lot of grip on the exit of these corners and through the center of the corners as well. So anytime I was basically on throttle, and I was having to really kind of back things down and just kind of play things safe, and that was making, any opportunity at overtaking Lance Stroll even more difficult now as we got yellows. What is Stroll doing? He's going all the way over to the right side. We got a track blocker. Behrman stopped. This is going to be a safety car with 5 laps to go. No, it's not. It's going to be a red flag. The rare red flag has struck here in Singapore in the sprint. Oh boy, I think this is going to be a 2-lap dash, and that's why we're under red flag. Wow, why didn't he get going? I don't really understand, but everyone's going to put on a soft tire And we're going to get ready for now a 2-lap sprint from, I believe, the 17th position. And it is, in fact, P17. Here we go for the restart with 2 laps to go here from the Singapore sprint. It's lights out. Let's go racing one more time. Perez with a bit of a sloppy start. Now Stroll's coming at him. We got to get whatever we can on the start. We've learned that now. Perez has a 10-second time penalty. My guess for illegal blocking is what it's going to be considered in the race director. Contact with Stroll as we go around the outside, 3 wide, and Perez, who's been faster than me throughout qualifying and had the position on me in the sprint, well, we're going to get in front of him. Bit of contact there on the back of Colapinto. Did not mean to run into the back of him there, but we move into P15 in front of Sergio Perez, and now we know again we got to get whatever we can right here with 2 laps to go, because passing is nearly impossible after the opening lap of a start. Now Hulkenberg with a bit of a slide. Now I'm going to follow Colapinto. I'm not sure if we're going to complete this one or not. Looks like we just might. We'll get past the Audi. Hulkenberg, though, still leaving room for him up the inside, but we get to run off the outside. Into P14 we go here now, and as we approach the final lap, important to note, nothing changed up front. It was still Norris, Hamilton, Piastri, Verstappen, Leclerc, your top 5. They have all maintained their same positions as we start the final lap here of the sprint. At this point, realizing, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get any further than this, as Perez actually behind us is making a pass on Nico Hulkenberg, but it doesn't matter. He's got a 10-second time penalty that's going to plummet him down the order, but we really pounced on the opportunity of that red flag and have made it count, because we have gotten ourselves, 3 extra positions up into P14. I'm quite ecstatic with that, but still some concerns going into qualifying, where clearly the AI have an advantage, and the race as well is going to be so hard to pass as Lando Norris rounds the final turn, and he continues his dominance. He wins the sprint over Hamilton, Piastri, Verstappen, Leclerc. Russell actually did get Kimi Antonelli in the end, so he gains a spot as we round the final turn for P14 here in the sprint. What a fascinating race, and not really sure how to feel going into the Grand Prix and into qualifying as well. We do score driver of the day, as we'll take a look at the rest of your finishing order there. And of course, Isaac Hadjar in the Red Bull, the last driver to score a point in the sprint now, as Carlos Sainz ends up P10. Of course, the pair of Williams continue to be really, really strong here now, as of course Perez eventually plummets to the bottom of the grid, as we can now focus in on qualifying later in the Saturday night. The rain's falling, however, but the rain would let up very quickly, and the conditions would dry up very quickly. So by the end of Q1, we were already back onto a dry tire, the soft tire. So, however, again, the struggle was just the pace. It wasn't quite there. And I made adjustments here into qualifying from, sprint qualifying and the sprint as well, and we actually took a little bit of downforce out of the car to try and get a little bit more straight line speed, because this was a super downforce heavy setup that we had originally, and as we round the final few turns, it's not really going to make a difference from the look of it, because I can already tell I'm dead last as we round the final turn, and coming to the start finish line, in fact, again, it's going to be P last. And hold on, it ain't. Lewis Hamilton is dead last. What's happened there? Hamilton's had his lap time invalidated for corner cutting. Wow. Hamilton's going to have to start from the back of the grid now as well. I guess we get to start not in dead last here for the Grand Prix.
Marina Bay hosted a Grand Prix that briefly ran in the 60s and 70s, but the Garden City re-entered the calendar for good in 2008. We missed it for a couple of years, but it was great to come back to the Singapore Grand Prix. And here's our track, 4.94 kilometers long, and overtaking chances into the first corner, into turn 14 at the end of the Esplanade, and now into turn 16 in the newly reprofiled sector that we first ran on in 2023. Still though, it's punishing and tough on the brakes, and the heat and humidity will take an effect on our drivers. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Oscar Piastri completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Russell, Charles Leclerc and Antonelli, Hadjar, Sainz, Albon and Nico Hulkenberg, Gasly, Behrman, Esteban Ocon and Stroll, Lindblad, Alonso, Liam Lawson and Sergio Perez, Colapinto, Bortoletto, Bombshell and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
We're ready to go racing. Again, starting on the mediums, looking to go to the hards. There is a little small bit of rain coming from the looks of it later in the race now, as Lando Norris once again on pole position, career pole 24. Now, if you're wondering about Lando Norris's rating, now I might actually lower it because he's so OP, but I can confirm, of course, that I've been modding the ratings. His rating is no higher than anybody else. He's got the same rating as Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton as well has the same rating as Lando Norris. It's just Lando's been just so good. And one thing that has made a big difference, the experience rating makes a very large difference in how drivers perform. And I have lowered a few drivers' experience, such as Fernando Alonso, because his experience was so high that he was taking a garbage car that should not be able to run very good at all, and he was taking it nearly into the top 10 on a weekly basis. So that was a change I made a few races ago that I don't think I talked about. So just wanted to let you guys in on that, as well as here we go for the Singapore Grand Prix now, and this is going to be a tricky one. We're really going to have to utilize some strategy here tonight under the lights. 31 laps of racing. The most physical race of the season is going to be lights out, let's go. Now as we head down towards turn number 1, we know what we need to do. We got to get after it on the start now. Piastri, Norris side by side, Verstappen through into P3. Norris hangs on to the lead of the Grand Prix, and it's going to be Leclerc in 4th over George Russell in the 5th position. As for myself, we've settled in pretty well, and we're actually coming up behind a battle with our teammate of Sergio Perez, as it's going to be 3 wide between him and Lindblad and Alonso. We're going to undercut all of them. What a move. 4 wide through into P16. Thank you very much. I'll slip through and run away now. They pretty well made that one easy for me, and we were able to pounce on it. Up into 16th we go now, behind Stroll and Liam Lawson. Now we're going to make an aggressive lunge of the inside of fellow Canadian here of Lance Stroll. Up to 15th place we go, and honestly that might be the end of our overtaking for a little bit here. If the sprint was a sign of anything to come now, with just the difficulty in overtaking because of the broken battery, everyone can just use as much battery as they want throughout a lap, and therefore, you don't have to manage it, and it makes passing nearly impossible. So this is going to be a frustrating race, I think, but like I said, this does open up a door to something different. Now, basically, this turns this into almost an old school F1 race, because there's no battery management you really have to worry about. But we're really just going to have to utilize strategy. We're going to have to do something different if we're going to gain some track position. The first thing that came to my mind was the obvious undercut. We're probably going to look at undercutting the cars in front of us. Obviously, we don't really know what our strategy is going to look like yet. We are going to have to just kind of wait here for a little bit now. And once we get closer to our pit window, which is close to halfway in this Grand Prix, that's when we're going to, of course, have the moments of making a decision on, when to pit and when not to pit and whatnot now. But as we come to lap 3, you can see on the track map, you've already got a 3-kart runaway of Norris, Piastri, Verstappen. They've kind of gotten away from Leclerc and everybody, and then we are just kind of barely hanging on to the back of Liam Lawson here, and we're starting to open up a gap on Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez, my teammate, in 17th place. However, you do keep in mind, Lance Stroll is on a hard compound tire. So he is not going to fire off that great here, and I do expect to see him kind of fire off here in another handful of laps now. But we continue to open up a gap and continue to just kind of stay right here behind Liam Lawson, but not really able to, do anything with this car right now. We're just kind of stuck and just letting things play out, really, and that's all we can do. And I feel like we just kind of have to hope for, a scenario like the sprint race where, we can pounce on a little bit of chaos. We know rain is going to play a threat. Now, when I was asking about the rain at this point, wasn't getting any reports on the rain, so not quite sure exactly where that rain's going to strike, but it's definitely probably going to be late in this Grand Prix now. As come lap 7, we've opened up now 3+ second gap to Lance Stroll, and we are actually continuing to pressure Liam Lawson as we have just lap after lap and kind of just reeling him in and getting closer and closer to hopefully being able to make a move on the Kiwi and move ourselves up into the 14th position. But unfortunately, come lap 9, you can see now he's actually started to kind of stretch the gap back out a little bit on me here now, so just kind of settling in to the 15th position again now. As we got a spin behind us though, Franco Colapinto running P20, make that dead last. Hamilton has gone nowhere with the difficulty of passing, by the way, and then just moments later, here comes Kimi Antonelli now, going for a pass around the outside of the Red Bull of Isaac Hadjar, moves up into P6 as Hadjar drops to 7th, just on the front nose there of the Spaniard of Carlos Sainz Williams. Not been a great season for Isaac Hadjar. I'm not really sure what Red Bull's plans are going into 2027, but it does seem like they are probably going to keep Hadjar around for at least one more season as we continue now to lap 10, and we've kind of gotten right back up here now to Liam Lawson, and then the gap, though, you can see as I'm starting to slide around, is very fluctuating, and as we come through, kind of beyond lap 10, I was really starting to struggle with grip again now, as now Max Verstappen. Verstappen's going to go around the outside of Oscar Piastri, and hold on, we might have a race here now. It seems like the Red Bull's starting to kind of get rolling here now. So Max Verstappen into P2 over Oscar Piastri as Lance Stroll's hard tires are starting to kind of come in now, and he's starting to close the gap to myself, and he's starting to drive away from my teammate of Sergio Perez as we come through to lap 14. Still, same situation. We've literally been in the exact same situation for over 10 laps now. The passing is so hard with this broken battery, man. I am so sad that they broke my favorite track in Formula 1 with the whole battery situation. It is so frustrating. You see it there. It just stops at 76 basically. So it's so weird. As we decide, though, lap 14, we're going to try the undercut. So we are going to pit a lap or two earlier than a lot of these other drivers. We'll come in now, and really the only one we're trying to undercut is Liam Lawson. We're not really close enough to anybody else. So we'll come in and we'll go for the undercut here. It's going to require a good pit stop and a really good execution here on this lap. Now, lap times were falling off quite a bit, so if we just run a solid lap, we should easily get in front of Liam Lawson here now as we come in for our first and maybe not only pit stop of the day, because we know there is rain coming later in this Grand Prix. Now, fortunately, it didn't come early enough to where guys that started on hards are going to be able to go to the rain. Now, that rain is still a little ways out yet before those guys will have to pit on hards that started on hards before the rain hits, so that's going to help us as well, and making sure we don't get screwed by, having to pit on mediums while they can maybe go longer and get to the rain. So now it's just important to, like I said, execute the pit stop now as Max Verstappen and Piastri are coming in at the end of lap 15 while Lando Norris stays on the racetrack. Very interesting. They're going to go for the undercut on Lando Norris. So Verstappen onto the hards as well, same for Piastri. Very straightforward strategies here tonight under the lights in Singapore. And as we head down the front straightaway, Lindblad into the pits, will pass him. Ocon had pitted as well, but he was already way up in front of us, so not even going to be close to running him down and passing him. And now, Lando Norris comes in from the lead. Oh, he's got to wait. He's got to wait for the Ferrari and as well the Mercedes of Leclerc and Russell. Hold on, this might make the undercut a very viable option for Verstappen and Piastri. That's not even going to be close. Verstappen to the lead, Piastri to P2, Norris down to 3rd position. And this might be the race where we finally see an end to the dominance of Lando Norris. And for me, we're going to pass Liam Lawson, and we're going to be comfortably in front of Liam Lawson here now. But we know he's going to have fresher tires by a couple of laps, so that is a bit of a concern. We've got a 4-second gap on Liam Lawson, nearly 6 seconds on Arvid Lindblad. Right now, in the current R&D, RB is the better team, so I would expect them to run me down as we get past Hamilton and Alonso as well. So we're up into 14th. Bit of a mistake right there. I am shocked I did not get a corner cut warning on that one. But as we come through to lap 19 at this point now, Liam Lawson is quickly running me down. He's cut the gap in half. It's down to 2 seconds. While Lindblad has also made some headway in. I mean, just not nearly as much. We're not really worried about Lindblad. We're really just racing Liam Lawson at this point now, as here comes George Russell. Lando Norris is in trouble. George Russell is going around the outside of Lando Norris, who drops now off the podium. Down to P4 goes Lando Norris. Russell is on the medium, so has a little bit of that softer rubber to kind of make some gains. Now, as the rain is getting close, I was informed that the rain was only a few laps out at this point now, so it sounds like we're going to be raining here probably lap 22, 23, 24, somewhere in that area. It sounds like rain is going to be falling, and come lap 22, the rain was falling. Here we go. Now the question is how heavy is this rain going to fall? Now, I was being told the rain was going to basically be here to stay. So it's not going to be just a super quick patch of rain. No, it's going to be raining for the remainder of these final 10 laps. So as we are now going to be in, I think, a little bit of trouble because Liam Lawson, you guys know that once the rain starts falling, we really start to struggle for pace. Now, I have good news on that. I've just recently found a mod last night that's supposed to kind of change the grip levels in the rain to make yourself competitive with the AI in the rain. I am going to start using that mod following today's episode, but that does still mean we need to get through today's race here in these wet conditions that are about to come upon us now. As Isaac Hadjar, Nico Hulkenberg, they're rounding out the top 10 right now over Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman, the pair of Haas cars running in 11th and 12th, just on the front nose there of the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. Then 7 seconds back from them is myself and Lawson, who continues to reel me in. And then you got Lindblad, Stroll, my teammate of Sergio Perez, who's dropped down to 18th over Bortoleto, Alonso, and Hamilton, who has still gone nowhere in 21st position. The only car he's passed is the one that spun out of Franco Colapinto. And you can see that's close. We're struggling, and we're getting the call right now as that's happening to pit for the intermediate compound tires. So we're going to come in right here for the intermediates at the end of this lap now, and no one else in front of us yet has come into the pits. I think we're gonna be the first one to come into the pits now. So we're gonna come in, and we're not gonna be the only one. Liam Lawson as well is gonna follow us into the pits. So we'll come in, get down to the 37 mile per hour pit limit. And we'll get this intermediate compound tire on. My teammate of Sergio Perez, he's going to come in. Lewis Hamilton's in as well. I believe Franco Colapinto from dead last is also in. So about 5 of us come in here right off the bat now. And as we get back onto the racetrack, now that we're into a situation of being on an intermediate, this is where our pace is probably going to start to fall, unfortunately. And only time will tell. But Liam Lawson is 2.7 seconds behind us, and in just a few corners, he had gained 0.6 of a second. So that tells me that we're screwed. We are definitely screwed. Now, as here comes Max Verstappen, Piastri, Russell, Lando Norris is staying out again. They are not double stacking at McLaren. So Piastri comes in with Verstappen and others as well. Piastri is going to get stuck because Mercedes double stacks. Piastri has to wait, and that's going to ruin his race because that's going to promote Russell into, I think, net P2 as we're coming around the track now, and Lawson's already here as we approach the end of 24, coming to lap 25, a little bit wide on the exit there, and now you see race control has restricted street mode and the battery deployment as well now, as we're going to come out just in front of the Haas of Ollie Behrman. So pitting 1 lap earlier has really allowed us to make some big gains, but we know we're going to have big losses to follow. But the goal now is that we're going to hopefully take advantage of the difficulty of overtaking here around Singapore. That's kind of the goal now, because we are way off the pace now that the track is getting wet. But it is so hard to pass that we might be able to keep Lawson and others behind us. Norris pits now for the Inter. Sainz will follow eventually as well. Let's see what happens between Verstappen and these guys now. Verstappen is already back to the lead of the Grand Prix. It'll be then Russell in second. Norris is going to drop all the way down to, I believe it was P6 in the end by the time he would exit, because through goes Piastri, through goes Leclerc, and Antonelli would get Lando Norris. So Norris has dropped down to the 6th position as we're right on the back now of Fernando Alonso, who's just limping it back to the pit lane now. He's going to get out of the way, but we got Lawson and Behrman right on us here now as we round these final turns. But again, just taking advantage of the difficulty of passing around Singapore now. We're just now coming up on 5 laps to go here, and 1 more lap that will be from the Singapore Grand Prix. But just so frustrating with the rain conditions. But like I said, I did find a mod last night that should change that. So we're going to start using that mod and see if it does work going forwards, because that would make racing in the rain a lot more enjoyable, because racing in the rain kind of sucks here in F125. It always has. Now as we come to lap 27 here, 5 laps to go from the Singapore Grand Prix, just continuing to do what we're doing as we go wide though in turn 1, and we got to lift to make sure we don't cut the corner, and that allows Liam Lawson to slip through, and a big mistake there gives up 13th as we now got Ollie Behrman just behind us. I'm even worried about Bortoleto. I think Bortoleto at 6 seconds back can run me down before this Grand Prix comes to a close now. But now we got to try and hold off Ollie Behrman here on these closing laps, as well as I was also just trying to learn whatever I could right here from Liam Lawson. I'm like, can I take anything out of this and try to find more time? The answer was no. I was still slow. So come to lap 28 on the run into turn number 1, and I'm going to make the same mistake. And again, we got to make sure we don't cut the corner, and that allows Behrman through, and I have completely choked 2 positions away, just overshooting turn 1 in these conditions. Bortoleto 4.5 seconds back at this point now as we continue on, just trying to hang in there as we even do a bit of a tank slapper against the barrier, unfortunately now, and really just trying to keep my cool at this point now as we got yellows. Alex Albon, smoke pouring out of the back of the Williams, and it's going to be an engine failure there for the Williams driver, and that's going to bring out a virtual safety car. Oh my goodness, thank goodness. That is going to basically buy me nearly an entire lap of not losing time to Gabriel Bortoleto behind us. And as we come through to the start of lap 29, virtual safety car comes to an end. We go back racing, but like I said, that saved us from losing, a whole bunch of time to Bortoleto as we return with just 3 laps to go. So now I know, okay, just hit my marks as we got to spin. Now around goes Lindblad. Hold on. Oh my goodness, he did not just do that. He just drove into Franco Colapinto going by, and there is damage done on, I believe, Colapinto, certainly Lindblad as well. What a mistake. That was embarrassing. That is a mistake you cannot make right there. Pulling back into traffic. That was terrible, and I'm sure Colapinto and Alpine as well are going to be absolutely livid about that one now as we come to 2 laps to go. We did not see any safety car or anything from that. It was too late for a safety car at that point now, but we're coming up on the final lap of this Grand Prix, and Gabriel Bortoleto is still reeling me in at a pretty rapid pace now, and he's probably going to get to me on the final lap, but the positive is it's so hard to pass. As long as I can get through turn 1 without giving up the position, we should be fine as long as we hit our marks. And as we start the final lap of the Singapore Grand Prix, what a fascinating weekend of racing. Broken battery and struggling in the wet conditions in the late part of this race, and somehow after all of it we still come out better than where we started in 21st, and we're now in 14th with Bortoleto closing. But Max Verstappen, for the 3rd time this season, and a season he's not been the most happiest behind the wheel, he's going to get win number 3, career win 74 for Max Verstappen. George Russell will join him on the podium with Oscar Piastri, and Lando Norris is going to be left wondering what went wrong for him and McLaren today, as they'll have to settle for 6th places. We've got Bortoleto right on our rear wing as we round the final turn. We'll hold on for P14 here in Singapore, which could have been at least 2 spots better there in P12, but I can tell you right now, I will absolutely gladly take that result here of 14th place now. As Fernando Alonso's driver of the day, he finished like 20th. How in the world? I think he went backwards. Anyways, Max Verstappen gets to celebrate victory here for the 74th time in his career, his 132nd career podium now. And if you are a Red Bull member like Zenith Harris and Andre Dickens, you guys pick up some wins here as well as members of the channel. So congratulations to them as well. George Russell being on the podium for the 32nd time in his career, and Oscar Piastri for the 35th time in his Formula One career. So congratulations to them as Max Verstappen gets to hoist a big trophy here in Singapore now. And again, Max Verstappen's kind of shown these kind of little bits of hope throughout the season, and there was speculation early in the season that he was going to retire, and then he went and won 2 races and said, you know what, I'm actually going to stay. And now here he is back on the top step of the podium for the 3rd time in 2026 now, and you have to wonder, what the outlook is with Red Bull and this Ford partnership now. Ford, of course, coming into Formula One alongside Red Bull. They've now won 3 races together. Things continue to kind of get better. How about Audi and the points with Nico Hülkenberg as well? Great result there, and we'll take a look at the points because Lando Norris, his points, of course, his gap does come down In what was a 2+ race lead, cuts down to 46 points on Russell, 47 on Piastri, 55 on Leclerc. Russell and Piastri, realistically, right now, the only ones that have an actual opportunity. And McLaren and the Constructors' battle is still close. 67 points between the two teams, so it's far from over there on that front. We head back to the United States, another home race for Cadillac. Next episode, special livery on the way. I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.